At American University, we don't just hope for change, we create it. We don't just dream of a better world, we make it a reality. With a graduate degree from AU, you'll access expert faculty and connections throughout DC to develop skills and experience to turn your passion into purpose. And that purpose can make all the difference in your career. Discover the difference a degree makes at american.edu/grad school.
You're listening to News Talk Saga 960. Also streaming live on saga960am.ca.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio here on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I'm your host each and every week, and this is the show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And we have a jam-packed edition of New Theory Radio lined up here today. We're actually going to kick things off with a good friend of mine. He is a local comedian that's doing a lot of amazing things. He's recently played a bunch of fringe festivals. He's developing some content currently for Kevin Hart and his LOL network. And he's also has an upcoming showcase taking place this Thursday with Bollywood Monster Mashup. It's my good friend Amish Patel. He's going to be joining us to kick things off here on New Theory Radio. We're actually going to theorize on sensitivity and comedy, because that seems to be coming up quite a bit. Is, you know, nowadays people are becoming more and more sensitive when it comes to things that are being spoken about within comedy and within other different disciplines in the arts and culture world. So I want to get Amish's opinion on whether that's actually taking an effect on him when it comes to developing new material. And then I'm going to be joined by two other good friends of mine, one being my good friend Nataleigh Ballantyne, as well as one of her close friends, an individual named Seif, as we are going to be theorizing about two topics. One in particular is OVO tickets. Yes, Drake's OVO Fest is coming back yet again, the Civic Long Weekend in August, and fans are not happy because ticket prices were ridiculously high. And I want to get Nataleigh and Seif's opinion on ticket sales when it comes to OVO Fest and why they were so high, and sort of theorize as to why things like this happen and whether fans are being taken advantage of. And then we're also going to talk about Wal-Mart. We're going to theorize on Wal-Mart's practices. Wal-Mart's actually instituting virtual reality as a way to assess employee performance. So I'm going to get their theories on whether that's normal or whether that's something in which we're giving technology a lot of power to, and whether we should scale back. All of this and more on today's edition of New Theory Radio. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I'm your host. And we're kicking things off with a good friend of mine. He is somebody who is a comedian here based with not only within the GTA, but kind of all over. He's been involved with Just for Laughs. He's currently developing content for Kevin Hart's LOL network. Done things with CBC, a whole bunch of different networks, fringe festivals, you name it, he's probably done it. Developed pilots for sketch comedy. That was, I guess,
that's so long ago.
Yeah, that was like, what, how many years ago?
Oh man, it's got to be like 8 years now. And we shot that pilot for Rogers. It's on. It goes on. Like every now and then I get texts from people saying, "Hey, your show's on."
Really? Eh?
Yeah, it's like an old sketch comedy show we shot called Fade to Brown. I forgot about that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
So
long ago. Yeah, and we shot a bunch of sketches with that too. Yeah, that's what careers are like in comedy. They're kind of like contract after contract. So
yeah,
you almost forget that, like, oh yeah, I did that, and it was like a little bit of my life, and then you just move to another contract. Exactly. And the voice that you're hearing is my good friend Amish Patel. That's me.
And Amish, thanks so much for joining me. And I was actually. I texted you on Friday.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I really need a guest for Sunday because I had two other people that are going to be joining me later, but they had a scheduling conflict. And I was like, if I need to kill an hour, I need to call my buddy Amish because he can kill an hour.
I'll talk all day. I can talk. You guys can hear me talk all the time. I'm on Instagram. My handle's still at Fade to Brown.
You totally took ownership over that, eh?
No, pretty much. I mean, even then, I started the troupe and stuff like that, so I don't know. But I feel like everyone's cool with it. I run into them, we're friends, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I say kind of just because, again, like, as a writer and producer, like, you kind of just end up hanging out with the people you're working with a little bit. So I don't see them for so long, but yeah, like, we're all cool, and everyone's just doing cool stuff on their own, so it's fine. I just ended up owning it. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't come out in someone's book one day that I was, like, megalomaniacal and I stole the name.
The Fade to Brown.
Fade to Brown, he stole it.
Unauthorized story.
Yeah, the unauthorized story.
It's gonna be the Lifetime movie.
Listen, if the Instagram channel blows up, maybe they'll sue me. I don't know. I'm at 6,000 followers right now.
But, like, that's always the case, though, because usually if someone takes an idea that maybe they either started with a couple people and those people fall off and then one person decides to run with it and it blows up, it's like, hey, I kind of want my piece of the pie, right?
I mean, it happens, but most of the time it doesn't happen. Like, you hear about it when it's one of those things, like, you know, when you watch this motivational advice and it's like, this guy did this every day and now he's a millionaire. That's one of them. There's thousands that did that.
Yeah.
They're average or broke. Probably, maybe broke. You know what I mean? Nobody tells you that. I mean, it's fine. It's like, we want to hear that story more. So it's more interesting, conflict, and also just like going to the top. It's just more interesting. So
no, it totally is.
That's kind of what you hear about. So, look, it could happen. I'm actually transitioning into a new like a comedy corporation. It's called laughsarup.com. That's my mailing list.
Oh, sweet, man.
And if they join, I'm currently transitioning. It's just hard to restart on Instagram. So I still have the Fade to Brown on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I've been putting all the videos up there. And it's good. And then I'm just getting busy too. I just got a writing contract. So it's taking up quite a bit of my time. And then, like you said, on Thursday, I have the Bollywood Monster Mashup show in Mississauga, so that's going to be tight.
And that's at Sea Cafes, right?
Sea Cafe, yeah.
Yeah, Sea Cafe. Shouts to Vikas Kohli and the whole Bollywood Monster Mashup team.
Killing it.
Was it year 9? Is it this year?
Yeah, year 9. I haven't been there for 9 years, but it's year 9 for them. And man, what a huge festival. It's so much fun. And then this year we're doing a silent disco around the party, around our comedy show.
Wow.
So the silent disco, there's food, and there's always like free food and drinks, but the silent disco, it sounds goofy, but it's so fun.
Yeah. Actually, I've been invited to a couple of silent disco parties, including the one on Thursday before, and I haven't done it yet.
It's so fun, but they got to stop calling it disco. There's something about disco that just sounds cheesy. Even back then, it was like, hey, we're doing a disco. It's like you think your parents are going to go or something.
But like disco is what they call clubs in India, right?
That's why they call them discos. And then there's disco dancer.
Oh, yes.
And all I can think of is disco dancer. But that's fine. You know what? It's a good time always. I love those. I love dancing in general.
Yeah.
You were asking me before if, like, how I'm losing weight. I look great. I've noticed.
I actually, because I haven't seen Amish in, like, couple years.
It's been a couple years, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, like, you and I always were kind of connected on social media, but I haven't seen you in a while, and you literally, like, showed up, and you were literally a shell of who you used to be, because you look thin, man. But you're looking good, and you're not, like, thin as in that you're a hungry artist.
Well, I'm working out. You know, my shoulders are... Look, years ago, a physiotherapist told me that my traps are clinically too jacked.
Really?
That's what they said. They were working on them. They said, listen, you got to stop working these traps. Clinically, my professional opinion, they're too jacked. So just take it easy with these traps. Calm down, and I had to stop working it. But I think it's the intermittent fasting and the dancing.
Yes. And
I'm just getting back, my shoulder game's just getting back on point today.
And the dancing's still DDR, right?
I'm doing a lot of Just Dance at home. DDR is over. Just Dance is the game that I have incredible.
Which is so funny, because I remember when you told me that you used to do Just Dance, I thought you were joking, but then I actually saw a video of you doing it.
Come on, dude. That's my next podcast.
And you're super intense. Over? Yeah, you're super intense when you do it. It's crazy.
5 stars. I try to get 5 stars every time. I actually have gotten a couple of platinum stars, 6 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, the Ariana Grande, I got 6 steps on like most of her tracks.
Is there a Just Dance championship that you can eventually attain to participate in, or what?
There are,
like
and
China
I haven't gone.
Or Japan or something. Or?
They're always in like Florida. I've always seen them on Instagram because I always like hashtag them.
Yeah.
If I do a video about it.
Yeah.
If I do a story, and I always see that like in Florida they're doing like a Just Dance championships. But it is a dream of mine to go one day, and I would like to. I am currently working on it. Look, I'm not a professional. I'm a comedian. I got a lot of work to do as a writer, and like I don't know if that's a ring that I want to step into on a professional level. But like I said, the shoulders, I'm just getting back on point, doing a lot of Just Dance, intermittent fasting. Maybe next year, look, guys, maybe I could go into the championships.
I honestly feel so bad that when I introduced you, I forgot to mention the actual Just Dance accolades.
I think I'm gonna make a rider that says, look, I need an Americano, I need a Just Dance, mention Just Dance, and then this is the hashtag. I think that's what I got to do. I got to get a rider.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
it, right?
I'm surprised you haven't had a rider yet, because like you're so busy. You're doing stuff with Kevin Hart.
It's Canada. We don't have riders. It's Canada. There's no money until in America it's different. There's like rich but not famous in America.
Yeah.
In Canada, maybe on the French side, I've heard that in Montreal, there's like millionaire comics that you don't know their name.
Well, seriously, because so my day job, I work for a brand that's only based in areas outside of Montreal, like outside of Quebec. But then we have a counterpart that's only based in the Quebec area, and yeah, like that's how it is. Like there's multi-million-dollar things happening in Montreal, in Quebec, within this entertainment industry over there. That's like we would never hear about here ever.
No, and they just have all it is that they have a language barrier that just keeps them all going to one thing. So we have to think of the rest of Canada as just as much of an abundant market if we all just got together and did one thing. The thing is that everyone just kind of does their own thing, and it's easy to just fall into American media because we speak the same language, we look the same, so we'll just watch an American thing. It's $1 billion budget versus our, millions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just hard to compete with it, but
totally.
The market's there, and they isolate themselves with the language. Mm-hmm. And they have a great film market, they have great music, and then their stand-up comedy too. I just realized like a couple of years ago that if you can do French too, they have a union. There's like a big market for it over there.
Well, like Sugar Sammy's killing it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He left though. He's in Paris now.
Oh, he's in Paris. Wow.
He moved to Paris. That's high level shit.
Crazy. Oh, he can't swear.
Sorry.
Can't swear.
Oh my god. That's too high level stuff. That's the last one. Oh my god, I'm getting pointed at right now.
Wait, did you swear earlier too? I didn't even catch that.
Only one, but I did. The other one was the other name.
The other
I said a name, which is almost like a swear, but that one he didn't tell me. He just said swear, and then I don't know the line on swear. If I think F, but okay, no, I got it. That's a swear. This one's a swear.
But what's crazy about Sugar Sammy, and to your point, is he's actually, before when Russell Peters blew up, I remember seeing Sugar Sammy live a couple months later, and he was doing a similar stick around immigration, immigrant parents, and all that. And then what was crazy about him was that I found out after that he does that same stick in French. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, I remember I was asking somebody, I was like, what happened to Sugar Sammy? Because Russell Peters was blowing up. And they're like, oh no, Sugar Sammy's still around. He's just crushing it, in Montreal.
Yeah.
And then I remember just YouTubing him, and he did an entire immigration set in French, and I didn't understand a word of it, but it just goes to show that dude really found his niche and just ran with it.
They have a market; it's huge. I think he did a lot of Quebec English versus French stuff too, and I think a lot of that stuff kind of got him on the map. It got people kind of excited, kind of mad / you get into controversial stuff and. We were thinking about talking about this before the show. Even it's like he hit some sensitive stuff that bothers them locally. A lot of French language stuff, maybe, or Quebecois versus Anglophone. I don't know. Is it Francophone versus Anglophone stuff?
It is.
I think he did some of those bits that really got everyone's attention, and then after that, killed it.
That's actually a perfect segue to one topic because here on New Theory Radio, we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And I find that this next topic relates to probably pop culture and everyday life, and that's sensitivity in comedy. It's no secret that nowadays we live in a climate where anything that you say could potentially be used against you. We're seeing remarks from the last 10 years being dug up by different comedians that are now coming to light and being used as, oh, we can't use this person, or oh, this person said this person said that. And it's one of those things that I wanted to talk to you about, being that you are not only a stand-up comedian, but you're also a writer, is what is that fine line?
Actor too,
yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you know, I was on a kids TV show for 5 years.
You were on a kids TV, yeah.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, what was that?
Dino Dana. It's on TVO.
Yeah, it's on TVO.
Definitely should not be swearing, but let's go on.
Is that still on TVO?
Yeah, they're only airing the third season right now. So there's 2 more seasons and then a movie.
So you just banked everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how they do it, man.
So the residuals are just always going to come in.
Bam, bam.
But to my point,
sensitivity.
Sensitivity seems to be something that's really strong-arming the industry. And it's not just in comedy. You know, we're seeing it in other instances as well. Like, we're seeing it in hip-hop. We're seeing it in...
hip-hop? What do they get in trouble for? They don't get in trouble for anything.
We're seeing it in the media. We're seeing it everywhere.
Hip-hop can say anything. Come on.
You used to be able to say something.
They get away with the word. Man, some of the things they say, I'm like, man, if a comedian said this... Remember the song that came out that everyone got mad at during Christmas?
Which one?
The one, It's Cold Outside.
Oh, Baby, It's Cold Outside.
Baby, It's Cold Outside.
Which has been like a Christmas carol for...
Whatever, 50 years.
Yeah, 50 years.
There's a female side of it where she sings the exact same thing back. Whatever.
And it's totally
fine. But have you compared that to hip-hop lyrics? It's out of control.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Well, even if you listen to some old Eminem, it doesn't age well. Like, he talks about killing his baby mama. He talks about doing drugs. He talks about,
Well,
rape.
This is how I think the culture, and there's always like a cultural outrage over this sort of thing, but this is how the left and the progressive people pull things forward. While you're in the middle of it, it feels like we're being too sensitive. And then 10 years, 20 years later, a lot of times you look back and you say, oh, that's fine. That I can't believe we used to think that. A lot of the stuff ends up like that. There's a great channel called Pop Culture Detective, and he does these feminist movie analysis. He does feminist movie analysis, mostly.
Yeah.
One of the ones he did was he basically went through a bunch of rom-coms that like women love, the rom-coms that women love, like huge hit rom-coms, and he basically explained how all of their premises are the guy stalked a girl until the girl gave in. There's like so many. He showed clips from like 5, but he's like, this is from half of the movies. They don't, even that stuff does not age well. And back then, if you brought it up, I think a lot of people would have said, hey, you're being sensitive. What's your problem? The way he lays it out, you watch it and you say, yeah, this is weird. I would never do this. And why are we selling this as a fantasy that this guy just followed someone home, played like music outside of her house? There's like, it's almost like kind of threatening, a lot of it. You know, the way he just shows the clips. I mean, and they're not even out of context. He plays. It's a great channel, actually. Pop Culture Detective. It's good. Yeah. So that he has one video about that. He has so many though. I mean, I feel like we can't even talk about some of them. They're so inappropriate. Some of these old movies, they're just. He has one about Harrison Ford. I don't know. Look it up. The Harrison Ford one. I was like, man. Every scene with this guy, it's
totally, man.
It's rough. So I think a lot of times what happens is you have progressive people trying to pull things forward. At the time, everyone says, just take it easy. And then 10 years later, we all say, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely true for those 80s movies. I think there's a lot of stuff we're living in now. It's like people say, if you're a fish in water, you don't notice the water. We're living in a culture right now that... in 10, 15 years, some things are going to be changed, some things are not.
Yeah.
And we just don't know what they're going to be. So we're taking guesses. A lot of times people are like, oh my God, how can you put this person? I don't get it. A lot of times, 2 years later, I'm like, yeah, fine, fair.
Yeah.
And then sometimes 2 years later, I'm like, okay, well, that blew over. Nobody cares.
Because I still remember even just from everyday conversation, like growing up, like whenever you used to tell us, "Oh, stop being gay," like that was such a common thing people would say all the time. And now when you say that, it's borderline offensive, which I get, because you shouldn't use that in negative context. Yeah. But then you also have other feminine words that we can't say on the air that are sometimes used as derogatory remarks to call out males, and these are usually masculinity battles that we're seeing amongst people on the playground or people that play for sports teams. And now it's a lot different. Like now it's almost like, hey, don't say that. You're being borderline offensive. No one should be taken in a negative light or be used as an insult. And then one of the reasons why I brought it up is Aziz Ansari released his new stand-up right now on Netflix. I'm hearing mixed reviews about it. I'm hearing, and I don't think the mixed reviews have to do with his content. Comedy. It's more like people are saying, well, how can we even watch it now? Exactly. And it is weird pretending that things aren't funny. I mean, I get it. Yeah. What he did was wrong. Like, let's say a lot of them that just get canceled. Now I got one of the hardest things about being a comedian right now is I have to pretend that I never liked Louis C.K. Like, none of it was ever funny. I have to pretend. You have to. It never was. You can't even bring one up. You know what I mean? It is weird. I remember I was talking to someone at I think at Comedy Bar or something, and I was bringing it up to say, just not even an opinion. Just I heard Louis C.K. did. The sentence I heard Louis C.K. did this. Yeah. And I remember this comic just said, "Hey, take it easy, man. People can hear."
Like, I couldn't even just
It's
say...
almost like Louis C.K.'s a swear word.
It is, yeah. Yeah, you can't just say, like, I get it, what he did was wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, nothing he ever said was funny.
Yeah. Apparently,
I don't know. It's weird. It is weird when people are like, what? It is weird, too, when someone gets mad at you for not being woke enough. And I'm like, man, you don't even know any woke stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do a podcast about colonialism called White Man's Burden. So I watch so many documentaries about colonial history. I watch so many things, and it even just bleeds into feminism, Simone de Beauvoir, all this stuff. And sometimes someone will be trying to lecture me about this, and I'll reference something, and I'm like, you don't even know.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't even know her book.
Yeah.
What are you're going to try to give me art? It's weird. One time this girl brought me to a show to tell me that a bit of mine was problematic.
Really?
She was like, come to the show. This is a bit. I want to have a talk with you. So she starts talking about this bit that was problematic. And then I was like, oh, that's not my bit. That's another brown guy's bit. Mm-hmm. So you're being racist. Technically.
Yeah.
She didn't care.
Yeah.
She just continued her lecture about why it's inappropriate, and I'm just sitting there like, I didn't say it though. It's weird, man.
No, it is. It totally
you just got to take it right now.
It totally is weird.
It's fine. I mean, I get it. They've been through a lot. If we're specifically talking about a lot, just the oppressed classes are dealing with a lot of systematic stuff that it's hard to pinpoint. It's complicated. So you just take it a little bit. It's not a big deal. I don't know. I don't yell at anyone.
But you know what? One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this is because you are a writer. And,
yes.
And I'm wondering how, like, number one, do you keep these things in mind when you're writing? Number two, how... Because to me, when I think about the comedy I like, comedy is always, in my view, is making fun of someone at their expense. Like, it's almost like for example, when you go to a comedy show and you have an MC and they start heckling the crowd, like, chances are, like, some of the comments that they're making could be considered offensive, but because you're in that environment, you enjoy it. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you is, number one, do you think about a lot of these sensitivities now in your writing? Number two, do you feel like the whole industry is being constrained?
Number one, look, initially, there's a pushback. There's a lot of there is a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is going to end freedom of speech and it's destroying the culture and this and that." It makes you such a good writer. When you are, as a comedian, as a writer today, you are like a sharpshooter. You can complain and leave, in which case, okay, bye. There's a lot of people like that. They just want to complain about it. It's a lot of, I find, right-wing people complaining about left-wing people, but they're being very, like, victim. They complain about left-wing people being too victim-minded or complaining too much, but then after a while, it's like you're complaining a lot too. You have to write like a sharpshooter right now. You have to be able to get that joke in, but in a way that if you sidestep everything, everyone loves you. Everyone thinks you're so sharp, and it's great. It really, because comedy too, after a while, whether it's sitcoms or stand-up, it all starts looking the same too. So something like what you mentioned where you say, hey, what are you, gay? Something like this, it's hack. It's not only offensive, but it's a bad joke now.
Yeah, it is.
It's just hacky. And I remember the last time someone said it to me, I think it was in high school or university, or it was like a long time ago, but I remember someone said it to me, and I was just like, maybe I am. And then they got so upset. They just were like, oh my God, he admitted it? What? He just admitted it. And then everyone's like, yeah, we don't care, man. And he had to leave. He just went home crying.
Really? Eh?
Not literally crying, but, just, I don't believe in anything, man. And he just had to leave. It's like, yeah, man, we've moved on from this, and we don't need to make a joke at their expense, and we don't want to. The other thing you're saying is the number two of it is kind of like you want to make a joke at other people's expense. Comedy always has been a punching up game. I mean, look, there's people who do punch down, but that's like super offensive stuff, and you almost need people getting mad about it, or else you're not going to have a market. It's not what I do, but what I tell other comics when they want to do that kind of stuff, that harsh, edgy, offensive stuff, it's almost like you only get to exist with all of these other lefties getting mad at you. If you did that joke and everyone just said, cool, you just made fun of like whoever, like you punched down hard and just ripped on someone. If everyone just said, cool, that would be worse for that comic.
It would be.
It would almost be like the guy who's like, maybe you're gay, and everyone said, yeah, who cares? Maybe I am. It's almost like that, where they say something offensive, and everyone's like, I've seen comics do this too. They'll do a super offensive joke. It's not funny, but nobody laughs, and they go, oh, fine, can't take it, too sensitive, and I'm like, well, it also just not funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and to me, that almost sounds like a cop-out. It's like, oh, well, if you don't find my offensive remark funny, maybe you're the one that doesn't have a sense of humor.
Yeah, maybe you're like too left-wing culture. Maybe you're pandering to feminists or something. It's like, okay, or maybe you're not funny.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I mean, people will laugh.
Have you seen Aziz Ansari's new stand-up?
No, I haven't seen it. Tell me the joke. What's the joke he did that was too much?
I haven't seen it either. And I don't think there was a joke specifically.
It's more like I can't believe he even did a special.
Well, it's that. It's also he does address it, and I think he addresses it. From what I heard is some of the reviews online say that he addressed it. I mind you, I haven't seen it yet. Maybe next week I can provide some thoughts when I finally get to it. I'm still trying to get through Stranger Things. It's
cool. It's very important for our job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our job, and we have to watch Stranger Things and talk about it on the podcast.
There's a lot of content.
There's a lot of content that we must watch and talk about. Yes,
but anyways, but from what I'm hearing, for a couple articles that I read that were kind of talking about the Aziz special, was that he seems not as apologetic. But he does seem sympathetic in a way. Like there's this fine balance where he addresses it. He talks about how it's made him more aware. It's kind of allowed him to, maybe call out colleagues or think about things differently. And to me, like what I'm thinking, because I'm of the actual belief, and again, this is probably a different conversation within itself. But when I heard about the Aziz Ansari situation, I didn't cancel him. I didn't cancel him because it was just one opinion from this anonymous person that, for the most part, it just didn't seem like there was a lot of merit there.
Well, not only you. There was a 1 hour, like a MSNBC, a female anchor did a 1 hour thing saying, like, can we just stop it? Just leave him alone. You had a bad date. Like there was like an hour like that. Like a lot of women actually came out on his side too. So that is one of those weird ones where I don't know. It's a slap on the wrist. Look, not everything has to be a cancel and get rid of someone. Some things are a slap on the wrist. He got his slap on the wrist. He made his apology. I think we all can recognize what he did wrong there. It's, it is a learning moment maybe for the culture where we tell kids, when I say kids, I'm talking about 20-year-olds who look like kids to me now. But maybe it's a slap on the wrist that lets the 20-year-olds know that don't push it. I mean, even if someone's not really in the mood, just drop it and go on another date or whatever. I mean, whatever the lesson was exactly on that because I agree with you. When I read it, it did initially just feel like, okay, you had a bad date. His behavior was technically wrong, but not enough to cancel, and it just seems like he's not canceled.
Yeah.
So it's not a big...
It does seem like that.
He's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Netflix. Netflix is not putting on a Louis C.K. special.
No,
Louis C.K. is canceled.
Yeah, he is.
Aziz Ansari, he's just not. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, his special came out.
Well, especially with Louis C.K. I know he came back recently, and I think he was cracking jokes about what had happened, or he made other offensive comments that people were like, man, you just don't get it.
Well, he did an hour somewhere. The whole thing is on YouTube. He basically brought it up. Oh my God, the rest of that hour is actually pretty good, though. I hate to say it.
Really?
But that joke he did, yeah, I agree. Like, he's wrong. He definitely...
Do you feel like he went about it a different way?
No, it's just that he's doing his special. It's an hour long. He has one bit about what happened, and I kind of... no, he doesn't even have a bit about what happened, necessarily. He has a bit about how... about trans people and how some 20-year-old's telling me what to call this person.
Yeah.
Shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And I would say I probably disagree with him on that.
Yeah.
Although he's working on a special, man. Someone recorded it without him knowing. So I don't know what to do with that.
Well, in that instance, then, and let's not, I'm not trying to give Louis C.K. the benefit of the doubt in this situation, but then, for example, as a comedian like yourself, who's maybe testing out new material, and obviously, when you make the nightclub rounds or when you make the bar rounds, a lot of that is to test out new material, maybe that you're writing or that maybe you're developing, and let's say you have a joke that in the back of your mind is maybe borderline offensive, but then you think people will laugh and you test it out and it gets a non-reaction. Someone was to record it and use that against you. Is that fair? I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, in that particular instance.
Or is the onus put on you for even coming up with the idea?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, man. I mean, we're living in this new world of like anything can be recorded. Stand-up comedy is changing so much. It's almost like... Yeah. Stand-up comedy is becoming this podcasting a little bit, because the old world of stand-up comedy was you worked on these bits, and then one day you do an hour special. There's nowhere to work now. I mean, you can work technically, but even Chappelle has to take away people's cell phones because you're going to record it.
He took mine.
Man, I was talking to another comic. Oh, he's such a great guy. I forgot his name though. But I was telling him, and I'm like, man, why do people always record our sets? And it's like, why? Just watch the set.
Just watch the set.
Just watch the set.
Just live in the moment.
And we were joking about how it's never white people. It's always someone. He was like, yeah, it's so true. Why are people just someone's always recording my set? And it's all, I'm just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Just watch it. It's weird, man. And I'm like, where are you going to post it?
Nice. So Laughs Are Up, is that the name?
laughsareup.com.
So wait, when did you start that?
A couple of months ago. It's good. I mean, it's been going well. I got this huge writing contract, so it's hard to get it all done all the time. So one episode went up late. It's a podcast like this, and someone got so mad at me. One of my listeners.
Really?
They started giving me such a hard time. I'm like, man, I had to join the Writers Guild. It's been a rough week doing a thing. I got a contract. I'm telling him, and then he said, "Sorry, I was having a hard week." Anyway, and then he sent me this book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Okay.
Incredible.
Really, eh? Changed your life.
It's in process.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Such a good book. I love these Navy SEAL. I mean, he's the only one. I usually actually don't like the Navy SEAL trainer guys. I find they're a little too bro-y.
There's that
this
one
guy's
guy,
very smart.
The one motivational guy that just yells at you.
There's Jocko, but David Goggins, I think, goes very deep. I actually have a Jocko diss video.
Oh, really, eh?
I mean, it's war propaganda. Jocko? Yeah, I was like, called him out. Navy SEAL. He could pop in here right now and just be like, you're done. They're vicious, these Navy SEALs. If I told you they're training, it's torture. It's like that should be illegal.
I bet it is.
They're hard. The Jocko guy went to Iraq. I thought it was war propaganda. I did a diss video on him. David Goggins, I find, is incredible. So smart, very deep, and very smart, with how he talks about using your brain. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway.
I actually, for me, from a motivational standpoint, I never was a fan of these motivational speakers, but I did last year when I wasn't working. I did get into Gary Vee a little bit.
That's when you get into it, when you don't have a job. Yeah. Honestly, people into motivational stuff, they're doing the least.
Yeah.
They're just doing the motivational stuff because they can't do other stuff, basically.
Yeah.
But I find the hardest working people are like, what's that? I just work.
Yeah.
And it's always like people who are like, I do find that life coaches, it's always someone who can't fix their life, and now they're a life coach.
Pretty much.
That's what happens. You can't fix your life, then you get into all this stuff, and then a lot of them will just make money off of other people who can't do stuff.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Look, the motivational game is getting very tight, though.
Yeah,
they're very good. They're very competitive, and it's going so deep now. And it's actually because, like I said, I joined the Writers Guild. I started watching these screenwriting seminars.
Yeah.
One I watched years ago, but I rewatched it. It's incredible. It's called The Hero's Two Journeys. You have to buy it on Udemy, but I think you can just grab it on YouTube. Maybe there's clips on YouTube, but Udemy, it's incredible. Screenwriting course, screenwriting and self-help. They all kind of follow the same hero's journey. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. It's like you can just live it and do it, but then people who are having a hard time doing it, they just need to hear about it more often so that they can start doing it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, and that's always been the thing when it comes to motivational speakers is most of the time they're not telling you stuff that you don't know.
No, you already know all this stuff. You have to be reminded, and that's what storytelling is. There's Dan Harmon has a writing class where he basically says that every story is a delivery mechanism for a life lesson. And these are life lessons that we have to keep learning because our brain is really set up to be lazy. So just because you logically have heard something, it's not going to really sink in until someone can take you on the emotional journey where they take you to the depths of your soul. And then you basically have to sacrifice that part of yourself that's doing that thing that you can't stop doing.
Yeah.
So as much as someone can just tell you, hey, don't do that. I mean, it's like saying don't eat cake. Pfft, make me not eat cake. It's impossible. I'm going to eat it. But if you can do some Goggins stuff, some psychological reprogramming, you can stop eating it. It just takes the right lesson. Like sometimes people just go through the right journey for them, the right story, I mean, or like the right experience that just makes them quit smoking forever. You know what I mean? But no matter how many times I tell you that smoking's bad for you, you're just not going to do it. So it is one of those emotional things that I mean, it's Dan Harmon too, the one who wrote that stories are delivery mechanisms for life lessons. He's like the least preachy writer. He wrote Rick and Morty. And talking about sensitivity in writing, man, Rick and Morty pushes it, right?
Oh, they do, yeah. Totally.
Such a good show, always pushes it. And even he's saying that it is like good stories are always like a delivery mechanism for something that you're supposed to fix. And there are basically like 10 stories that we tell over and over again.
So just to bring this back to our other topic when it came to sensitivity in comedy, which is what we've been talking about for the last, I would say, half an hour. You did mention something earlier on about how these types of mediums, radio shows, podcasting, is almost becoming the new stand-up. The fact that you had this writer who wrote Rick and Morty do stuff that's more on the motivational side of things.
It's not motivational. It's a screenwriting class, but he does have a podcast.
Okay.
But other screenwriters have motivational programs. They do. What's his name? This one guy, he basically, I mean, Anthony Hopkins goes to Tony Robbins seminars.
Oh, yeah, no, totally.
But what's his name? There's another guy, he has a book called The War of Art. And if you read, he's written movies, but then The War of Art, and then his second follow-up book to that is, the first one is, it's a motivational book for writers.
But I've actually seen, and where I'm going with this is that I've actually seen a lot of people within comedy try to tackle maybe not the motivational aspect of things, but more of like the corporate training aspect of things.
Oh, motivational is like where a lot of comedians go to. Can I say die? Yeah. That's where they go. A lot do.
You can say whatever you want, New Theory, just don't swear.
You can, the motivational is where a lot of industries, as soon as you step into motivational,
that's it.
You're garbage.
Because the reason why I say that is because if there's so many restraints that are taking place on comedy nowadays when it comes to being offensive, but being offensive and funny, is the flip side of that, okay, well, I'm going to be helpful, but I'm going to be funny. But then to your point, it seems like it's a point of no return.
No, I mean, you can get away with it. You can do it. I feel like I try to do some comedy motivationals every now and then. I have a video about decision-making fatigue. I just make sure there's jokes in it. I'm never going to do a video where, I mean, a podcast maybe, but I'm not going to do a motivational, like, here's a life tip. I'm working on another life tip video, actually, but it's got jokes in it. Yeah. That's the key. Yeah. As soon as you start, there's one comedian who just does, like, these motivational things, these seminars, and there's people going up and crying with him. And I remember I think Joe Rogan just being like, okay, well, you're done now. Like, that's it.
Actually, do you know who does the motivational inspiration comedy bit the best? Ernie Vicente.
He's great. Oh, yeah, Earn Inspiration. Yeah. Earn Inspiration, yeah. He does it great because it's still funny. Yeah. There's still jokes in it, and that's really all that it takes. I find that there actually are a lot of black comics who sound like and came from church stuff, and church Protestant is where self-help came from, so it's kind of connected. Yeah. You know, and like I said, the hero's journey stuff, it's at the heart of all of it. Yeah. It's at the heart of storytelling, but it's at the heart of all the motivational stuff. Is hero's journey, that's the framework. And a lot of people believe that that's the framework of life, and you're only happy in life if you're on some kind of journey all the time. So, what about just on the topic around sensitivity and comedy, the fact that there are comedians like yourself that really poke fun at your not in a bad way, but you poke fun on your upbringing or even the culture around you. Russell Peters obviously made a living doing that. We talk Sugar Sammy, we talk Dave Chappelle. Like, there's a lot of fun that's being made of when it comes to these comedians and their backgrounds and the people that maybe surrounded them as they grew up. And sometimes these are new immigrants, sometimes these are family members, sometimes these are just people that have been affiliated within their families. It's all about tone. Yeah, like, do you see... One thing is you can't be not from that race and just... I mean, it's all about tone in the sense that, again, it's one of these punching up, punching down things where as long as I'm not saying, can you believe these people? Yeah. If you do the joke like that... I remember we were watching a documentary about a colonialism documentary, and I swear to God, they used to do these shows where they'd get a British officer to put paint on and just sing these, I am from India, man. Like, just because silly, whatever. That's offensive. Like, you conquered this place, you've destroyed these people, and now you're like, oh, look how silly they are. That's offensive. But on YouTube, if you think about, I remember someone was saying, like, one of the number one places of oppression for brown people is our parents. They're so strict, and they're traumatizing, man. I know some people that can't get married, or they were with a guy, and then the dad said, I'm going to kill myself if you marry this guy. It's like, man, that hurts people. It's traumatizing, and it needs to be made fun of. It needs to be called out, and that's the person to do it, or we're the people to do it. You know what I mean? If someone who wasn't in the culture did it, it would either be not accurate, probably not accurate, or I could see how it would come across insensitive, or it... Still, though, I'm down with it. I don't mind if a white person does that joke, but just don't do it like, can you believe them? They're going to destroy our culture. Yeah. That's where you have to draw the line where it's like, okay, just talk about your stuff then. You know, but if they talk about it in a way, I'm cool with it. I don't mind if someone does. My buddy's doing a joke about this, about how, like, about white privilege, and he's like, I want brown guy privilege. Their parents are just going to hook them up. Yeah. We're all getting a house. How are white people going to get a house? They can't in this market. They'll never have a house.
You just cracked a laugh of our station manager.
I know, finally, eh? After I swore, I thought it was cut off, but we're good. We're back in the good books.
Which probably means that you will be allowed to come back. But it's funny you mentioned that because I remember in 2017, I'm a big John Leguizamo fan. Love John Leguizamo, and I like John Leguizamo more so for his stand-up than his acting. He's an amazing actor, but his stand-up is off the hook.
Wow.
And I saw Latin History for Dummies
That's great.
When I went to Broadway. And it was fantastic because the reason why I loved it so much is it was John Leguizamo, who is fully Latino from New York, you know, someone that if he's going to teach me Latin history, I definitely believe it because he's someone that's already passionate about his culture and his roots.
Yep.
But he did it in a way that was calling out sort of the idiocracy that probably exists when it comes to people thinking about Latino people. Like, he's like, oh, we're not just Pitbull and, you know, Mexican foods. Like, he's like, we're a lot. Like, we're responsible for a lot of the contributions within America. It had almost a political flair to it.
Yeah,
but there was a lot of education at the same time, which is why I really enjoyed that. I remember I actually took my wife to it, and she knew of John Leguizamo but never seen his stand up. She really enjoyed it. And then you had, again, we're bringing this back to Aziz Ansari because one of the clips that is circulating from the Aziz Ansari stand up is when he's talking about the white reaction to Crazy Rich Asians and how some people, because they don't want to seem, and again, this is going back to sensitivity, they don't want to seem racist, they're not going to say Crazy Rich Asians is a bad movie. It was not a bad movie in my eyes. That was pretty funny. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, kind of,
same with Black Panther. You can't. You just have to either love it or don't talk about it.
Yeah, and then there's this notion that for some people to prove that, hey, I'm not racist, so I'm going to say Crazy Rich Asians is like the best movie ever made.
Oh, take it easy.
And that's the funny part. Like, that's the type of smart comedy that I do like, is when they call people out like that. But then
it's so fake, man. Yeah. Half the time, these people, it's like I said, they don't even know stuff.
Yeah,
I know so much, like, feminism stuff, and a lot of times I'm talking to someone who's supposed to be so woke and knows so much, or even like POC, like colonial history. I know so much of it, and I talk to these people who sell themselves as, I'm a POC, sensitive to this and that and whatever, and I'll just in conversation mention something. They'll mention something, I'll be like, oh yeah, that comes from this. And they're like, what? I didn't know. And they're talking to me like I'm not woke. It's like, man, I can't do these woke contests. It's ridiculous. I'll destroy you in a woke contest. Yeah. It's all talk with a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just using it for marketing. Yeah. It's very sad, but a lot of them are.
Yeah.
And you can just tell when you talk to them, it's like, you don't even know about this.
No, you don't.
It's all over your poster. It's all over your everything. Like, they're using it to sell their entire brand, and you don't know the most basic thing. It hurts me. I can't take it. I'm not doing these woke contests. I'm out. I don't do that. I'm not doing it, man. No. I mean, I haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians. I'll watch it. If it's good, I'll say it's good. If it sucks, whatever, man. Yeah. I'll say it sucks. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, just on that note,
they killed it. they made their money. They killed it. It's great. They're rich.
So just on that note, because we only have a couple minutes left for you.
Cool.
What approach are you now taking when it comes to writing comedy? With everything that's currently going on, has anything changed within the last sort of 5 to 10 years that you've been doing this, or even longer? Or have you kind of kept with the same stride, and, you know, unless someone calls you out, you're not gonna change for nobody?
No, I definitely get ahead of it. I do my research. I figure out, like I said, these woke, I'm using finger quotations, woke people, half the time they don't know what they're talking about. So you need to do your research, because you could just get called out and get scared, and it's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. So a lot of times people have tried, and then I say, well, this and this and this, and 98% of the time everyone's like, cool, Amish is cool, love it, great. It is very sharpshooter. There's words I don't use. If someone says don't say that word, I don't need to use it.
Yeah.
I don't do offensive stuff. I don't do motivational stuff, but I just do like family. I do a lot of race and politics, but I do it from the side of being brown. So I'm just not going to end up on the politically incorrect side. It's just not going to happen, probably.
Yeah.
I never want to. Like I can't think of the last time I wanted to do a joke that I was like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? Because once you look into the history of it, it does look initially like these people are being insensitive. You look into the thing, whatever, like let's say whatever left-wing thing seems so insensitive or so out of control, you look into it, like let's say with Aziz Ansari, people want to cancel him. And to me it's like, look, I saw the thing, what he did was rude, and it shouldn't be done again. He got his slap on the wrist. It's almost like the whole culture got a slap on the wrist, and that's enough. His special's out, it's killing it probably. Some people are still a little mad. We'll work through it, and we're just going to move on. And that's it. And Aziz Ansari is just going to keep making stuff, and it's fine. Yeah. But,
cool,
that's where I'm at. I mean, I try to write like a sharpshooter. I avoid all the stuff. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to go out of my way to offend anyone. And if someone says, hey, we're not doing this anymore, I look into it. And I generally find that when I look into it, I have more material, I have smarter material, and I can work better. And everyone loves me for it. So
amazing, man. Well, dude, this was fun. Thanks for coming on, man.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's Amish Patel, and again, you can catch him on Thursday at Sea Cafes.
Yeah.
And at the Bollywood Monster Mash comedy show / silent disco / VIP event, whatever it's called. Go check him out, and check him out at Fade to Brown on Instagram for all more funny videos. We'll definitely have to bring you back on, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't swear next time. And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and this is a show where we theorize on all things current affairs, pop culture, and everyday life. And moving on here on the show, if you were living under a rock over the last few days, or if you weren't, you might have noticed that OVO tickets were on sale this past Friday. It's Drake's big music festival that takes place yearly. They actually didn't really take place last year, but usually happens every year. And fans are pissed because ticket prices not only did the show sell out, but ticket prices for people that who did get through to Ticketmaster were obnoxiously high. Apparently there's platinum seats available on the lawn this year, which is kind of crazy. And to theorize about this with me, I got two of my good friends with me who I think one of them is going to OVO Seif. You're not going to OVO.
No, I'm not going. No.
Okay, so we're gonna get his perspective on just sort of the fan outside looking in, because there's a lot of fans that are outside looking in right now. But I got my good friend Nataleigh Ballantyne from Jones Media, no stranger to New Theory Radio.
Hello.
Different studio this time.
I know, it's cute.
Yeah. And then you brought a friend, Seif Khemaissia.
Khemaissia. Yes,
I knew I was going to butcher that. I'm so bad with names.
Close enough.
But Seif is the group director at INNOCEAN. What does INNOCEAN do?
INNOCEAN is a full-service advertising agency.
Sweet.
We work in the automotive category.
Oh, nice.
I manage the data and analytics part of it.
Amazing.
And I also head up the IAB, which is the Interactive Advertising Bureau.
Oh, sweet.
Which manages the regulations around data sharing in the advertising industry.
Wow. And data's huge, man. Data's like, even because I work in brand marketing in my day job, and we rely on data for everything.
Yeah, that's true. Data's massive. I think it always has been. It's just we have a plethora of data now that we never had before.
Exactly. And it's being captured everywhere. There's probably data that's being captured as we speak.
Probably data being captured by OVO as they figure out what price they should put.
Probably. Well, that's a great segue. Thanks for the segue. I feel like you've done this before, Seif. But so OVO Fest came back. Nataleigh, you go every year.
I sure do.
I've gone every year except for the first year.
Actually, I didn't go that year. It was at the ACC.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Because I've gone... I did not go the first year it happened because at the time, I think that's when Take Care had just come out. No. Thank Me Later had just came out. And I remember everyone's like, oh, Drake's doing a concert at Molson Amphitheater. And I was like, Drake's cool, but whatever. And
I was so in love with him already.
And that's when he brought out like Eminem and Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And then when he did that, I'm like, I need to go every year after that. So then I've been every year, except for 2015 when I was sold fake tickets. And we
from
literally...
who? StubHub or something?
No, so
Before
actually
it was
from my
legit?
buddy's cousin. Oh. She had gone to hold the tickets and they were fakes. It was so bad.
So we won't drop her name here.
And my buddy had just gotten married 2 weeks ago, and I do not think she was invited. It's all Drake's fault. And then I went when they did Summer 16 / OVO, which wasn't really OVO Fest. And then I went the year after that. And then last year there was no OVO. There was just Aubrey and the Three Amigos, and it was just a concert.
Boring.
It was cool, but it wasn't all that.
But that's part of the speculation. Is it's already everyone who's on tour. It's already a tour, which was not how OVO started.
Literally, yeah. OVO was crazy because it was a customized show for Toronto. And then I would say, I think ever since 2016, when Summer 16 happened, that's when we started to see a bit of a shift around, Drake's on tour, he's just going to make a Toronto date during that weekend.
Yeah. Or when did he start making it 2 days? Because I think that's also when a big shift happened.
Yeah.
Because the first 3 years, it was just one afternoon.
And it was always a Sunday, not the Monday.
It was always a Sunday.
Yeah.
I feel like the last really good year was when Stevie Wonder was there.
That was the first year I went.
That's a surprising guest. Or even when he brought back TLC.
Yeah.
That was great. Now it's okay, cool. This year, for example, listen, don't get me wrong. Do I want to see B2K? Of course I do. That's amazing.
But you're selling your tickets.
I am definitely selling those tickets. But also, they're on tour. That's not a show.
Yeah.
So day 2, he better bring fire surprise guests.
Well, he almost has to. But it's funny because I feel like the best year was when he brought out Kanye and Diddy and
oh yes,
and Mace.
And how much were you guys paying for those tickets during that time?
Not
this
much.
Now. Okay, so it's actually, I'm glad that we have Seif here because you being the data and analytics guy. Yes. Okay, so
I'm the skeptic in the group.
So it's crazy because right now OVO Fest has always been the hottest ticket in the city during that long week, during Caravan a long weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember tickets being really readily available the first year because it was just it's Drake. We got this Toronto guy. He's cool, but people weren't clamoring.
Well, we didn't know he was friends with Jay-Z and
Eminem. Yeah. The second year, I remember I had gotten tickets. I remember I bought 4 tickets, 4 lawn seats, and we sold 2 of them because it was so easy to get them. Then progressively, year over year, it's gotten harder. I would say when I first bought tickets, lawn tickets, I think they were $60.
I would agree.
They weren't a lot,
and you felt like it was a bargain.
Yes.
At the time, yeah. And at the time, I was also bummed out because I'm I don't want to be on the lawn. But then the lawn ended up being the party.
lawn is where you have to go.
Yeah,
because everyone dances like crazy.
Yeah, and everyone goes wild when the guests come out. And then as the years go by, it's almost if you get into the ticket queue, it's almost like you won the lottery. And that's what happened on Friday. And the thing is, I don't know about your strategy, but I just went with this. I went with the 2-dayers. I was let me get the 2-day tickets because I'm those are probably gonna be easier than getting the single Mondays.
And it was so I had 3 tabs open. I had 2 Monday in single, 1 2-day.
Yeah.
And as soon as I logged on, the single tickets, both tabs was I was in queue 2,000 plus people.
Yeah.
The 2-day one, I made it to 700 in 5 minutes.
Really?
So I got in really easily.
That was me because my brother had who was taking photos. If you hear flashing noises, that's my brother taking photos for me. He had a tab open for the single day for the Monday, and he was it was 2,000 plus, and then it got up to I think he was at 17 or something, 1743, and I was already at 600 on the double.
Yeah.
And I was okay, well, chances are I might get them, or I'm gonna be left with nothing. But I didn't. It's funny because I didn't see the ridiculous pricing when I bought it. I was okay, well, if I'm getting 2 tickets in the 400 section for each day, I was okay, this amount seems
I still
correct.
didn't love it.
Still a little high versus previous years. But then it wasn't until I started getting screenshots and I started to see lawn seats for $1,000. I was what is going on?
And it was the other 2 tabs when they finally loaded for me. That's when I saw the other prices because I had already purchased my 400s.
Yeah.
But just so that Seif knows, because he wasn't trying to buy tickets.
Seif clearly had better things to do. Probably
his job.
Yeah.
Regular tickets for the Monday lawns real Ticketmaster regular prices were $185, which I don't think is terrible. For one day on the Monday, knowing that more people are going to come. The 2-day pass was like $300. So that's also not awful. Like a music festival, 2 days.
Yeah, it's roughly that much.
$300 fine.
Like I'm going to Osheaga that weekend too. So for 3 days, it's like $350. Yeah.
But my strategy too was as soon as I got the 2 days, I was like, oh, I'm selling.
Which
day
is
one.
like what I feel everyone's doing.
Which is why now that wasn't a great strategy.
So
my tickets are still on StubHub if anyone out there wants to buy them.
I still haven't put mine on there, but now I'm terrified to even do so.
If you guys need tickets for day one, Nav and I have them for you. Just DM us.
Saif, do you need tickets for day one?
No, I'm good. But so you got them in the early days.
Yeah.
And you felt like you were getting a good price, good value.
100%, yeah.
How much would you have priced it at?
You know what? It's crazy because
what's the
ceiling?
Like when you think you're getting a discount, like how much do you think that price should have been for the ticket?
Because part of me is like, for now that I have both days and I know how much it is the value of day one really going to be that great, or should I just sell both of them and like get $1,000?
That's true too.
Because am I going to have that much FOMO? Is the show going to be so good now that it's less of a surprise because we've been so many times?
And also he starts to recycle the same people.
Well, 2 years in a row, it was like J. Cole, Kanye, Big Sean. Not that I don't love them.
Yeah.
It's just also those are his friends.
Yeah.
So like just mostly I want Stevie Wonder all the time. But yeah, I think that $185 would probably have actually been my ultimate max for lawns.
I feel like that too, because like lawn tickets are normally your discount tickets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, OVO Fest
and
is
it's
like
overflowing with people now.
Always overflowing,
so
yeah.
it's like it's a crowded, non-comfortable, you can't sit down kind of situation.
Yeah.
So I say the price that they put it at now is the absolute max I would probably ever pay.
But were you there that one year when he's going to the Sky Dome and he never went?
Well, I wouldn't go either.
Really, I think the Sky Dome would just be
too much.
Yeah,
too much.
Saif, what about you, man? What do you think about this whole pricing strategy that Drake has applied and how it's pissed his fans off?
I mean, if the tickets are sold out, then there's a certain amount of his fans that he hasn't pissed off. And if people are willing to pay the price, people are willing to pay the price. I get pissed off when I look at soccer players that are 21 years old that are getting paid £200,000 a week as a salary.
Yeah.
But, that's the economy, that's the way it is. So I think if people are willing to pay the price, he might piss off a few of his fans, but the fans who are willing to put a lot of money into his bank account and give him high profitability, he's not pissing them off. That being said, it doesn't mean that he should marginalize the fans that can't afford his tickets, and I think that's probably where he's messed it up a little bit. If anything, if I was him, I would have probably had a different event altogether that I would have hiked it up from 185 to 1,000. So I think he probably should have had an event altogether to not marginalize those fans, but I understand at the end of the day when it comes down to business, and he is a businessman, if people are willing to sell it and it's going to sell out, then
and I think people are upset because the prices went up on resale. That wasn't the actual price of the tickets, right? By the time everyone finally got into the queue, what was left was just $1,000 resale.
No, but it was resale and it was platinum level. And platinum level, I don't know what platinum.
I don't even know what that means.
No one does, because normally, you've seen a lot of shows now to get people to come out. They'll offer platinum tickets, which probably includes some type of gift package.
Is it a meet and greet?
Yeah, and none of that was specified. So you're almost unsure as to what that really means.
$1,000 to meet him and then sit on the lawn?
I don't know.
Couldn't you just track down where he goes out?
How much of this do you think was not his decision? Because I'm sure it's grown over the years. He's probably hired more people, and maybe it's come to a point where maybe he's spread too thin and he's got a whole different business operation that's managing that, and he's got the suits that have come in and added those prices.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The first couple of years, he received a grant from the city of Toronto.
And I haven't heard otherwise since then.
I
haven't, because they look at this as a big tourist attraction.
Yes. So it is my understanding through the rumor mill, I have never fact-checked this, that it's $300,000 that he receives from the city to put this on.
Crazy.
So there's no, I guess, real reason for him to not offset the cost for ticket prices because he's already... Listen, I don't know if he pays all of his friends to perform. I'm guessing Diddy wasn't showing up for free.
No.
Even if they're friends.
Yeah.
So it's a very costly event based on the people he brings in, but... to me, you're already getting funding to make it happen. But I don't know if that's still true.
He has in previous shows, he has claimed that he doesn't make any money off this one. That he literally just takes the money that he's given and he puts it to put together a good show. But to your point, I haven't heard anything about that until, like, I remember it came out a few years ago. The city was giving him money because he looked at it as a big tourist attraction, but I haven't heard anything in the last few days.
Which makes sense because during Caravana, so it is like an international event. It's not just Toronto who goes.
But is this just a prime example of just how thirsty people are and just how far they're willing to go for these experiences?
I think so. I think so. I have a guy in the office who bought some Balenciaga shoes for about $2,000 and he had to hide them from his mom. And this guy's like, he's an entry-level person, was a part of the younger generation.
How and the amount of money that they're putting into shoes?
$2,000 shoes.
It's like me hiding my OVO tickets for my wife.
Yeah, so I definitely think a part of it is that there's a younger generation that's looking for exclusivity. Look at Supreme, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a clout thing.
Yeah,
it is such a clout thing. Because think about it this way. Like, if you get into, like, OVO, there is especially if you're posting on social media on that day, there is a large group of people that have FOMO. And I remember I've posted when I've been at OVO, and I've gotten hit up by random people on Twitter reposting my stuff or commenting on it. Or
really?
I remember I made a video when what's the track with Gigs called?
Shut up!
I'm looking at my brother.
Donna.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Batman. Donna.
KMT.
Yeah, KMT. Yeah. When that came out, we were at OVO, and I made a video because I remember when Gigs part came on, the crowd just went wild, and I'm like, I need to make a video of this. So I posted it, ended up getting retweeted a bunch of times, to the point where Universal Music sent me an email saying I had to remove it because it was copyright infringement. Because I had I think I had 40 seconds of that whole, I had Gigs' whole verse. And I remember tweeting out, like, the crowd's insane for this OVO for when he's performing that. And then Universal Music, like, a couple months later, like, sends me a note saying, hey, we've removed your video due to copyright violation. And I was like, it's crazy. Like, it's nuts.
Is that a generational thing? Because are we getting too old to be like, don't video the show, just, like, enjoy it, embrace the moment?
Well, Childish Gambino said that at his concert last time I saw him in Toronto, and I didn't post about it. Because I'm like, you know what? For his sake, let me not. And I might not even this year, too.
And listen, this is a PSA. You're never going to watch those videos on your phone ever again. So just keep your phone down.
But also, like, this generation is looking up to the Jake Logan. Like,
Paul
Logan,
the YouTubers.
Logan Paul and Jake Paul. And looking at them, sometimes one post can change your entire life.
It can. It totally can. And everyone wants to capture that one viral video.
Yeah. For some of these people, that's their career path. It happened with my sister, actually, where she went... And remember there was a story about the Saudi Arabian girl that went to Thailand because she ran away from her family? So my sister went and posted on Instagram this video about her political opinion about it. Within 2 days, she got 4 million views. Next thing you know, she was on an Arabic... equivalent of CNN on the news.
Really? Wow.
And then her Instagram boosted. She's getting sponsorships and she's getting sent to Dubai. She's hustled for 4 years trying to create content that resonates.
Yeah.
It was one post about one thing that was active, and next thing you know, her whole entire life has changed.
But a good point is that she had been making content. It wasn't just like a fluke post.
Yeah.
So kids, don't just think it will be...
Well, because that's a whole different conversation, because to your point, Seth, like, everyone is trying to get that one viral video, and an event like OVO is like probably where you're going to get it.
But what are you going to get? What is it? What's the video? Just like a surprise guest, or you're going to take like a fire pick beside that Budweiser thing, like in all your Supreme and that?
You might all your OVO.
Kanye West comes on and he starts going on a rant that's suddenly on TMZ.
That's true too.
And it's your video.
That's true too. Yeah, and that was a trend for the longest time at Kanye's tours. Just like people would just bust out their videos and be like, oh, he's about to say something crazy, and then they would hope that they would get that one video that does blow up on the TMZ, right?
I hope Kanye doesn't come.
I don't know who's going to come. Like, what's your prediction?
I have zero idea. I bet you it's J. Cole and Big Sean again. That's just what I think. I'm sticking with that.
I'll try and think.
Well, the pressure's on now with the price tickets increasing.
Yeah.
He must have something
Who
up his sleeve.
is it?
Well,
can't be Lil Wayne because he can't get over here. That's why he didn't perform with Blink-182 last
apparently
weekend.
He walked off the tour,
Well,
right?
he doesn't like... This is not a big enough crowd for him.
Well, here's the thing that I think about Drake, too, is do you feel the fact that Kawhi Leonard did not re-sign with the Raptors, that it kind of poked the air out of OVO a little bit?
Because he made that announcement.
He made the announcement at the parade, and in my eyes, like, again, if Kawhi had re-signed, and again, I'm not taking away anything from our chip. Like, we got our chip, but I think the fact that Kawhi didn't re-sign is a little bittersweet, because you're like, oh, okay, like, you know, it is what it is, but we're still champions. But do you feel like this would have gotten a little bit bigger if Kawhi chose to stay, and this would have been like a massive Raptors celebration?
Well, the Raptors are still going to be there.
Oh, they will be.
Just
100%.
Not maybe Kawhi.
It would be funny if
maybe
he's
he
there.
would. Maybe he will come.
He did say, like, on Serge Ibaka's YouTube that he wanted to check out Carabana. He could still come back for Carabana.
True. But also, I heard that part of the offering to Kawhi was like share in OVO or something ridiculous.
Which is hilarious, because I'm like, what would he really do with that?
And I feel like he doesn't really like Drake that much. Like, anyways, I don't know if it really deflated. The champions are still going to be there. Lowry still, I'm sure they'll bring the trophy.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's still going to happen.
But the cost went up after Kawhi had already said he's not going to stay.
That's true, too.
That's true. That's true.
And you know what? It might have also, to Drake's credit, the fact he didn't do it last year. There could be some people that were like, oh, he's bringing it back, even though it's a 1 year. He's technically still did a concert last year, but there could be that sort of demand from, oh, I want to be a part of it because he brought it back this year. Maybe that was part of the marketing. I don't know. OVO is an interesting group.
Who would it take to show up for people who paid $1,000 to say,
worthwhile?
I'm content?
Ooh. Somebody has to be like an
Beyonce.
old person. Old school.
Seriously,
Beyonce would be.
I think Beyonce would be. He hasn't brought up Beyonce. I think Beyonce would be someone paid money. I think that would be big, especially if he brings up. I remember last year the rumor was that it was going to be Beyonce and Jay that were going to do,
because they were on tour.
They were on tour and they never had a Toronto date. And the rumor was that they were
because it was that weekend that there was a break in their schedule.
I think you and I had
right.
this conversation.
We did, and I went to On the Run twice. So
yeah, my wife went in France.
It's so good. I went in New York and here.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
It was so good. I don't know who else.
Yeah.
Like, who's really... I don't love anyone right now.
What if you made peace with Pusha T on stage?
Ooh, that'd be crazy. I feel like Meek Mill might show up this year. If he can get to the country.
They made peace on stage too, didn't they?
Yeah,
if he can get to the country, Meek will be there. I think if he brings up Pusha T, that'd be crazy. Yeah. That would be pretty crazy.
I need someone like who's been gone for a long time. I need a revival person.
Well, you're getting that with B2K and Chingy. And
that wasn't Drake's idea. That's not the same.
I know, it's such a cop. I remember, it's funny how reactions of a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, he's going the nostalgia route," and then as soon as people are like, "Well, you do know there's currently a tour,
it's a tour
with all of these people on it," everyone's like, "Oh, this is such a cop out."
Yeah. What if he brought Rihanna?
He did a few years ago.
That would be drama. Because ew, what if he brings frickin' Chris Brown?
I think that might happen.
I want my money back already.
I
cannot give that man a single dime.
Oh, man.
Actually, yeah, now if you're listening, you can have both my days, Sunday and Monday.
let's actually move off of Drake a little bit, and let's talk about ticket sales in general, because this was a problem that people also felt with the Raptors tickets, too. And me being the sucker that I am, I coughed up a ton of money to go to game one, but I don't regret it because it was the only home game that they won in that series. But anyways, it seems like ticket sales in general, like it's fascinating because when new experiences come about, and maybe I don't want to fully compare the NBA Finals to OVO Fest because OVO Fest was a yearly thing. The NBA Finals is like once in a blue moon, especially for Toronto.
For us, yeah.
But still, like ticket prices were insane, and people were doing a lot just to get to these games. Where do you see this trend going? Because I just feel like more and more people are just going to go broke.
I think the resale is like a real factor here. Like the ability to purchase tickets at a face value and sell them for double is a huge, probably, what's the word? Like incentive for someone. Like if you're an entrepreneur or just like trying to hustle, it's like, okay, I have $1,000. I can buy this many Raptors tickets and then double the price.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge problem for people who actually just want to go and not make the money, even though I did that this time.
Yeah.
It wasn't on purpose. I think that like other websites like StubHub and even like Game Time or Game Day or whatever, like TFC tickets, you can just buy like for $20 the day of the game.
Now that they're doing bad.
Now they're terrible. Yeah.
But I think there's a bigger problem. Someone was telling me the other day it was cheaper to to go to one of the away games and watch and get a hotel room than it is to watch it here.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Someone at my work did the calculation. They're like, okay, well, I can spend $2,000 to sit in a decent spot in Toronto, or I can use that $2,000, maybe spend $500 on that on tickets, and then to your point, get accommodations, get a hotel, and make it a weekend out of it.
Yeah, well, the sad thing is what you mentioned earlier about the people who can't afford it are kind of being marginalized more and more. But that's not just a basketball problem or a TFC problem, that's a Toronto problem.
It is.
Even people who are living here, like, have you looked at the real estate market and how much it costs to live here? It's absolutely ridiculous. Crazy. So it's a bigger economical problem when it comes to that. But the gap between the rich and the poor is only going to continue to grow bigger. How it's going to get solved, I have no idea.
Because like, the way I see it is I can just see, and again, I think this whole Drake thing is a great spotlight that was put on this issue, because more and more people are just getting sour. Like, even people like us who got tickets are just kind of soured by it.
Yeah, and because it ruins the experience of going, because now it's about how much it costs. Like, I couldn't imagine your parents and you have 1 or 2 children, and like all they want to do is go to a sports game in Toronto. And you're like, you could literally probably go to an all-inclusive for a week.
Literally.
With all 4 of you versus going to a Maple Leaf game in one night. Yeah. So it's like a real deciding factor of like, how much is that experience? How much value is that bringing to you for how much all of it costs? So last night I went to see Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, okay. Margaritaville.
It was hella fun.
Was Seif there too?
No. Yeah, sorry. With my parents, obviously. And my mom got tickets for that. They were $10 US.
Shout out to Ruth Ballantyne.
Yeah, shout out. She's a realtor in Brampton, in case you're wondering.
She's here to sponsor New Theory Radio.
She will. Anyway, she got tickets for $10 American on StubHub the day of the concert. And my dad just kept feeling like, where else could you ever get a $20 evening? First of all, he didn't pay for a single drink, so it wasn't $20.
Was it packed? Was it a capacity?
Probably not. It was full. Like, it was really busy, but there was empty seats in the 400s. But I think, again, it's like, what is the demand? Because Jimmy Buffett, I would say, like, that's a pretty big deal. Yeah. And I don't feel that OVO tickets the day of will be available for $20.
No, they won't be. They won't be.
So, like, what is that? Like, what is that sweet spot, or like, what are we missing?
Well, and did the Canadian government or the Ontario government try to put like a ceiling on resale prices where you couldn't go more than a double or something like that?
I don't know.
I remember hearing something like that. To my knowledge, if we're seeing lawn tickets for $1,000, I don't think it's working out.
No, that's bananas.
Yeah, clearly not. But no, you bring up an interesting point, because even when I went to Game 1 of the NBA Finals, like my wife and I were watching StubHub, like the stock market, and we were looking at people that were just wanting to get rid of their tickets because they either couldn't go or they had got them and they were trying to sell them and they're lowering the price. Is that like is safe? Considering that you work in analytics, is that predictive? Is that predictive sort of technology? Is that something that is becoming more and more?
No, I think so. It comes down to like price elasticity studies. So if I had a shop and I was selling a product, I was selling tickets, and I had 100 people in my store and 1,000 people standing outside because I'm selling a ticket for $100. If I knew that by selling it by $200, not only will I make more revenue, but I'll also have less costs because I won't have anybody standing outside and I can fulfill. Then it just makes all the sense in the world. On top of that, if you're looking at a company that has shareholders couldn't care too much.
You almost swear.
Couldn't care too much about who buys the tickets or not, as long as the revenue comes in. So at the end of the day, that is the world that we live in. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I remember going to the Raptors games and I started falling in love with them when I used to get $10 tickets.
Sprite Zone, man.
All the way to the top.
Sprite Zone, $10 ticket.
It was the best.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that was the appeal to Toronto Raptors, too, was the fact that it wasn't your Toronto Maple Leafs ticket.
Yeah.
And that's why you had such a multicultural crowd out there, because it was people that normally couldn't afford top-line tickets that were going to these games. And the other issue that you have when you do price out of the market is you start to get people that aren't fans going to these things.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
And it becomes a status thing,
it's
right?
It's a client thing or a work thing.
Have you seen how boring the people are that are right in front of the field? A lot of them, I feel like they're out of corporate. I think a lot of it is just corporate.
They're entitled and Toronto. They don't, Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of companies out there that are willing to expend some of that. They won't blink twice about what the cost is.
And it's
which is nuts.
It's such a Toronto thing. It's like, you know, I remember someone telling me, like, oh, you know, for, you know, you can easily go sit courtside somewhere in, like, not Milwaukee, but, you know, Minnesota or something, and it will, like, probably cost you, like, $300. Like,
how about the other teams in the NBA when they make it through to the playoffs? Do they hike up the prices as much as we do?
I remember seeing a graph. Toronto was the highest, especially on a resale market, because we was the first time we had made it, and obviously our franchise history. But I think last year for Golden State, it was like one of the lowest.
Yeah.
Like, and not low as in like $100, but it was lower compared to previous years. Maybe because Golden State kept making it. Eventually, people were like, whatever, we're used to it, right?
I think the main reason the price goes up isn't because they made it through to the playoffs. It's because there's more people willing to buy the ticket. And a good example of that is Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
They don't do that great, but the ticket prices are still really expensive.
Yeah,
they always fill out.
Still one of the more profitable teams in the NHL.
world.
And there's nothing in the experience either of going to a Maple Leaf game that's like profound. There's nothing different. Going to a Maple Leaf game is like any other NHL experience. Just like the people on the ice with their shovels to clear the ice, I guess, and like an in-game host. The end, like some fan games. It's not like we put on a show that is worth an additional amount of money.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I remember I went to my first Leafs game in 2017 because I just never could afford a ticket, and I was able to get tickets that year. And my wife and I went, and my only comparison point to the Maple Leafs game that I went to from a hockey standpoint was going to a Sens game last minute where my wife and I got tickets for $7 on the day of, and we actually ended up walking down a couple of rows because nobody was there, or going to a Calgary Flames game in the Saddle Dome where we sat up in the nosebleeds. And outside of the Maple Leafs, outside of Scotiabank being full, the experience was pretty similar.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't like I went somewhere and the energy level was crazy.
If you go to Tampa, to see the Lightning, the energy is crazy. Like, they have chants like it's soccer, like in some of the sections.
Yeah.
And also they get heckled a lot because it's a lot of like the what do they call people who go to Florida in the winter?
Snowbirds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So like the Florida people heckle the snowbirds, but the snowbirds also they're there chanting, singing. There's other fun things happening, in an excitement part. The only time I went to a Leaf game this particular year is because I got tickets for free.
Really?
And that's probably the only time I would ever go.
Yeah. No, me too. Honestly, I don't think I'd ever, even if they were to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, that's one thing that, for me, it's like, okay, I've never been a big hockey guy, so again, I'm not going to spend that much money. But and that's the thing. Like, I find that on the flip side, you'll have people that are like, oh, I want to be there for the gram, or I want to be there because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Not for $5,000, I don't.
I know, but you'd be surprised.
When I was in Texas, it was when the Raptors were playing Texas. Does that make sense?
You mean
no? Sorry,
Dallas, Houston.
What is the series before the finals?
Oh, the Eastern, the conference finals.
Sure, yeah, that. Anyways, whoever Texas was playing, let me just, whatever.
Okay.
More importantly, Jay-Z and Beyonce were there, okay? So that's the only reason I was paying attention. But I was there in Texas while it was happening. And I remember I drove past the stadium, and I was like...
Wait, elaborate.
Yeah, no. And I was like, we should look at tickets to go tonight.
Going down.
They were playing the Warriors, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I really felt like I wasn't knowledgeable about that topic. So anyways, we look online, and even for that, I'm in the city. It's a big game. I think it was the last game. It's Golden State, so it's a big team. And tickets were maybe $200. And this is it's like half time. We could have made it back down for the third.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I was like, that's too much. And then the Raptors make it through, and it's $1,000, and I'm just like, wow, I really should have gone.
Yeah, exactly.
That was crazy.
Oh, that's nuts. And Seif, you actually pulled up some interesting stats about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, Toronto Maple Leafs' tickets, 90% of ticket sales are with season ticket holders. So there's a little 10% left. So you've already got 90% of avid fans that are willing to pay the price there is, and you've only got 10%, which is obviously why the price is going to go up.
It's fascinating because the running joke right now that Kawhi Leonard's not going to be a Toronto Raptor is that some people are going to either leave the Toronto Raptors season ticket queue, or they're just going to get rid of their season tickets. and people are like, "Oh, ticket sales are going to fall again. They're going to be affordable."
But I guess, like, does that mean you were just a fan for this one season?
Probably. I think a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon this season.
I mean, which is good.
Yeah.
In fairness, we needed that hype. That 100%. Was great. But you should keep the tickets. Our team is still stacked. First of all.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm really curious about next season. I think we're gonna probably. I had my buddy Darren Bondi on last week. He used to be a contributor for Raptors HQ, so we were like theorizing about the upcoming season last week. And if you want to listen to that, check it out on Spotify and iTunes, New Theory Radio. And we're gonna be talking more about the Raptors in the coming months because I want to. The next season is gonna be interesting, especially from a fan standpoint. You know, are people who jumped on during this championship run, are they going to stick around?
Well, I know for sure that more of my friends watched more basketball in the last month than their entire life.
100%.
And I think that they're genuinely interested now in the sport, first of all, and the other teams and the players, and would be more willing to go to a game now, even in the new season without Kawhi.
Yeah.
I think Kawhi, he came here for what he was supposed to do. Amazing. Love him. But I think, like, we shouldn't be so deflated, that he's gone.
Or deflated.
That he's gone. And, like, if you want to be a fan of the sport and the team and the city, you have to stick with it. Like,
yeah. No, I agree.
We're FC fans, so we stick with it.
You guys still exist?
Yeah. We're holding on.
When was the last time you went for a game?
No, I haven't gone this season, actually.
I was saying, did you go to the game when they were showing the Raptors game? Is that what it was? Or what?
Oh, no. That's a good idea, though. That was a good way to cross.
It's tough to be a Toronto sports fan.
Yeah, but I think there were a lot of fans that were just Toronto fans. I don't see them sticking around unless there's like an event like us going to the playoffs. It doesn't become about basketball anymore. It becomes about the city.
It does. It does become a city.
Yeah, and if there's anything about Torontonians during the summer, we love to drink, and any excuse to drink is taken.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've got an event that's happening every 2 or 3 days, it's bringing the people together. So I don't see them, and I think the big majority of the fans that jumped in, I don't see them from the beginning of the season.
Well, I did that when the Blue Jays were on the run because my dad's always been a big Blue Jays fan. I never really got into baseball. I used to think it was super boring. I did like the experience of going to check it out, have a couple of drinks, and hang out with the friends, and then maybe catch the game whenever something interesting happened. But when they had that sweet run in 15-16, I was like, yeah, like Blue Jays, or was it 14-15? No, 15-16. I was like, oh yeah, Blue Jays killing it. Like I loved it, and that was like 2016 especially was such a sick year for Toronto because the Raps killed it.
Like that year was a big year, and when the Raps did well, the whole city's behind them. When the Jays did well, the whole city was behind them. But when TFC did well,
we won 2 champions.
And then I used to work for the CFL, and I was there when the Toronto Argos won the Grey Cup in 2017. Same thing. Yeah, and I remember it was like 2 weeks in between. Like
that's right. Yeah.
And I remember people being like, "Oh yeah, Argos won. Like, why isn't anyone celebrating?" And then when TFC won, everyone's like, "Oh, TFC won. Like, why isn't anyone celebrating?" Like, it's.
I still don't have the answer. I think what's interesting about the Raptors winning is that it actually then became a national and U.S. Like, we got U.S. fan base who are really into the Raptors winning because they just didn't want Golden State to win, which is fine. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference. We don't. Like, first of all, no one in the States can jump onto CFL, and they don't care. They think it's a fake sport. Same with TFC, I guess. Like, Miami or Seattle's not going to, like, jump over to us now either. And the Leafs, like, you have to be a Leaf fan or you hate them.
Yeah.
So there's no opportunity to bring in new people so much at other levels than the NBA.
I do think that soccer has the biggest potential of the lot.
Well, soccer, when you look at the numbers, soccer is growing in participation here within Canada as well as popularity. You do have the Canadian Premier League, who is definitely trying to move ahead with creating the scene here as well. And then you have, clubs in Ottawa with the Ottawa Fury. You have the 3, obviously, with an MLS. Like, to your point, Seif, I think I could see soccer becoming, in the next 5 years, something very important.
For sure. I think the breaking point is, and I think we were the pioneers of that, which is usually like the players of Zlatan Ibrahimovic or Didier Drogba, whoever came into the MLS, they came after they were already washed up, after they're 34, 35. We were the first team that brought them in their prime. So Josie Altidore brought him in when he was, 25, 26? No, he wasn't a bloody big deal that they thought he was. Little did they know Giovinco was 28.
Didn't Defoe sign because of Drake?
Yeah, because Drake called his
It all goes back to Drake. It all goes back to Drake. Oh,
You're right, but Josie.
Yeah.
He's still good, I guess. But anyway.
This became theorizing
now
about the Toronto FC.
We can talk soccer.
I have no idea what to say about this. I don't watch the FC. I did go to one game. I watched it from the area behind the net, the party area.
Yeah, the fan club.
Which I didn't remember.
The Red Patch Boys.
Yeah, I don't remember watching any of it. But, hey, shouts to the Toronto Wolfpack.
Actually, Wolfpack games are really fun.
Wolfpack games are fun.
They are really fun.
I actually, I went to one, and it was amazing.
And it's affordable. Family-friendly and affordable. So.
Yeah. You know what I do wish we'd do a little differently, though, is like have better options when it comes to food in all of these stadiums. And I know there was a company that started doing this basically an app where you can order from your seat and then you start bringing your food in, which is interesting to see technology start to come into that sphere and how, I don't know, maybe artificial intelligence will play a role in that, because in my area and where I work in, if anybody downloads the app, I have your device ID, I can start using it for targeting purposes. So I'm interested to see what role that's going to play in terms of increasing fandom and increasing the experience that people have within the field. And is that going to be something that brings people into the stadiums?
Yeah, no, it's true. And you're starting to see that too. Like, I remember a lot of stadiums are sort of focusing on their culinary offerings just to bring more people to games, and it's a lot of the arenas that have struggling teams that are trying to do that. Or like, I remember even I think the Atlanta Falcons in their new stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, like they actually have like a $20 family deal where it's like, 2 beers, 2 Cokes. I think they had like 4 nachos, 4 hot dogs. Like, they're actually looking to make food more affordable, but as well as increasing the quality of it at the same time, which is fascinating. But
and the Jays started too with that $5 section. So there's like the $5 beer, $3 hot dogs. But I feel like you need more variety and like healthy and not just like a deep fried 2-pound
What's
burger.
wrong with the foot-long hot dog? That's the ritual, the foot-long hot dog at Jays games.
I mean, the hot dog, fine, but did you see like all those deep fried, like foot-long, gross, whatever fake meat inside? That's not appealing.
Deep fried fake meat at the Rogers Center. That's Natalie's favorite.
That's key to get me to go.
I think deep fried is just unnecessary.
Or now when you walk into some stadiums, why do I always want to say studio? Stadiums, and your
J&B,
phone, like,
they hang on the studio J&B. We exposed it.
It pins you like either a discount code or a coupon or something, because it's like targeted obviously to the location. So if you have the app for the sports team, you walk in automatically. The app knows that you're in the actual arena, so now you can use that code or that coupon live in your experience and get the discount from that. So that also, like, in terms of where digital can take you, is like as soon as you walk into a space, now they can offer you more on your phone without it having to actually be an experience within the stadium.
That's a great segue to our final topic. That's also digital related. But it's good though. I like the conversation because we're touching on a lot already. But it's a great segue to an article that I found, courtesy of the Washington Post, which I believe is now. I believe this article is actually being shown in a number of different publications. But Wal-Mart has decided to add virtual reality to its assessment of an employee's potential. So this is mainly being used as a way to assess how well Walmart employees know areas of the store, how well they will deal with conflict. They're being required to wear an Oculus Go virtual reality headset, and employees have their wits and instincts tested inside a simulated environment. This just sounds super Minority Report.
This is an episode of Black Mirror.
Literally, it seems like Black Mirror to me. The fact that we're getting to this point. So I wanted to use the last few minutes that we have here in this segment to really talk about, to theorize on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, because everyone knows virtual reality is the wave of the future. You're seeing VR headsets, even when it comes to sports. Like, you're seeing Samsung come out with VR headsets and make it feel like you're at you're courtside at a basketball game. But now you're seeing VR being used in a totally different way when it comes to, assessing potential amongst individuals. And, when it comes to the business of Walmart and the fact that they are an efficiently run organization when it comes to just the experience that they provide in stores and just their sort of focus on quality, do you feel like this VR tactic is taking it a bit too far? And Seif, maybe we'll begin with you.
I personally don't think it's taking it too far. It depends on what they do with it. I think virtual reality has a lot of benefits in the short term, it could easily go the wrong way, very easily go the wrong way. I think Steve Hawkins talked a lot about that before he died, when he put a committee with Elon Musk and Bill Gates to talk about the regulation of artificial intelligence. Once it gets into that, then it starts thinking for itself. But if we talked about pilots and going through a course or going through a simulation, it's easier and safer for them to do it through virtual reality than it would be to do it with actual flying, especially if we're talking about training them for, God forbid, war. If we're talking about students who are looking to do surgeries, and having that testing ground in virtual reality versus on an actual human body, I think we can expedite the more doctors that we get into the marketplace. So for Walmart to do this, if they wanted to do this anyway, they'd have to get people to go around all of the stores. I think it's much easier for them to do that with the virtual reality set. But what fears me is this virtual reality, if it starts having its own brain, it starts learning from our eye movement, it starts learning from our decision making, then it's perfectly positioned to take over all of their jobs.
Wow.
And then that becomes a completely different conversation.
Because even here, actually, I'm trying to see, Walmart's Director of Media Relations, Michelle Malashok, might have butchered her last name, like I butchered Seif's. She says that she claims that this tool is being used as a way to sort of mitigate bias, but also to better fit employees within positions in the organization. But to your point, like for me, when I think about data, when I think about new technology, information that's being fed into it is being recorded.
For sure.
Am I wrong, or am I just too paranoid?
You're absolutely right. Nothing is ever deleted, even if you delete it. It's still stored somewhere. And all of that is collectively being put together into a brain that learns from our behaviors so that it can serve us. But when it reaches to a point, the moral point, where it needs to start making decisions that we would make, then that's the part where we could easily lose control. So the regulation of artificial intelligence is very, very important, even as we start testing that. So I think in the short term, yes, it's great, but then there's still the big players that own the artificial intelligence realm. Where that goes, it's anybody's guess at this moment.
This does sound like an episode of Black Mirror. Am I right now, Lee?
Yeah. I think you're right, though. So let's say, is the purpose of this training to determine where things are stocked on the shelves? Okay, sure. Is it to determine how, like, for logistic purposes or for inventory, so that it's very clear on how the store should be stocked and how often trucks should be delivered? There's kind of more a logistical background that doesn't seem so Black Mirror. I think where it comes to like empathy with a customer, that's where I don't know. Seif knows the answers of how it does it. I don't understand how there's no bias then if you're having people tell the machine what their reaction would be. In favor, the machine will then recognize a pattern, and then eventually the right answer will just be the most often. Instead of a situation by situation. Like if you're a really livid customer, your scale can be from like angry from 1 to 100. And so how do you determine through? There's obviously ways to do this, but I just feel like that's the part that's missing when you focus so much on like, are you a great employee because your role is one thing that this is probably really strong for. It's like very clear that you understand like the mission and values of Walmart and where things need to be and what times and deadlines and deliveries. How it helps you determine if you should move up in the company is also a very strange thing, because I find even like on a human point, managing a person on your team is very difficult.
It is. No, totally.
And a lot of times people fall into manager roles based on how long they've been in a company, and that does not actually qualify them to be a leader in their department, on their team. That's just time. That doesn't mean they are really great at leading people, at motivating people, at setting goals, at achieving. There's all these other factors. And I think it's interesting to see how Walmart, I guess, uses everything to kind of determine if you're a good employee and if you know well, but also what does Walmart do with that? Like, who are they selling all of this to?
Well, my whole thought here, too, is the fact that we're, organizations like Walmart, and even now I'm reading Amazon is also investing into VR training to get their employees up to speed on new technology and all that. Is a lot of this being done because when humans were relied to do it, they failed. Like there was a failure in the system that requires us to rely on technology to make things happen. Because, for example, employee assessments, in Nat, I think you bring up a good point regarding management styles and being able to assess the capabilities of someone when they deal with, such situations involving empathy. Was an organization, I'm not saying they were, but was an organization like a Walmart, maybe facing issues where people that were conducting these employee assessments were maybe biased, or maybe they weren't doing them properly, or maybe they felt that the results that they were conveying were incorrect. Like, I don't know.
I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what the key topic is.
Yeah.
It comes down to the management and what am I wanting to deploy this technology for. The humans that I have already need to make the decisions. Am I deploying this technology so that their job becomes easier and I can utilize them for something else? Or am I seeing them as just people who are going to move the product from place A to place C? If so, then my decision making becomes a human being sleeps, a machine doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So I can make more money, I can make it a lot faster, and I can cut my costs. So that's where it's going to come down to. What kind of management is, what are they using the technology for? Are they using it to work with humans, or are they using it strictly for operational purposes? And I think you could probably already see the companies right now, how they're using the humans, and are they using them as dispensable beings that move product from place A to place C? If so, then they're very likely to be replaced by technology, and then that becomes a bigger conversation that we need to have, maybe a political level, which is how do we not cut off the advancement of technology, but how do we pace it so that we still have jobs and we can use it, or else nobody's going to have any money to spend, the economy collapses, and we've got machines running the show.
No, I agree.
And then, but I think it's all mitigatable, but the decisions that we make over the next few years are going to be very important, especially for us here in Toronto, with Google City coming down, with Waterloo has some of the best universities for artificial intelligence. Montreal has the highest per capita graduates for artificial intelligence. So we're at the cusp of defining what that looks like in the future.
No, and it's truly fascinating. Just as you mentioned, Seif, like I think about the next 5 to 10 years, and myself working in marketing and being familiar with the retail space. Like 5 to 10 years from now, are we going to be in a retail environment where we are going to be serviced by robots or by machines, or we're not going to have any human interaction, and it's all going to be automated? Like I don't know, it's scary.
And
so you made an interesting point earlier, which was about are there mistakes that human beings are making that can be mitigated if you replace that with technology? When it comes to driving, like how many deaths are we having on the streets because of that? So yes, there's resistance to autonomous vehicles, but autonomous vehicles are going to reduce the death rates, and they're going to learn a lot quicker, and they collectively learn together. So there's going to be benefits from it, and I think people are going to give into those benefits very quickly.
Natalie, take us home.
I forgot.
Sorry, no.
I got it. I think that brands are already looking at ways to use VR, AR on a mobile device, right? So it's it is a reachable marketing tool right now for lots of brands. So let's say I am a drink brand and I want to do a VR experience, AR experience. I just need to create the app, and I can just kind of change the environment. It's not. It doesn't always have to be this huge operation, which I think is also worrisome, because it's an easy way, not easily done, but it's an accessible way to create an experience through AR and VR that doesn't always just have to be like to simulate a plane crash.
Yeah.
Like I can just use a Snapchat filter, and that's the same on a different level. Same kind of technology.
Because AR has gone through this phases twice. It went through, it was a big hype, 5-6 years ago, and then dropped down because it wasn't as penetratable. Now you just get a headset, put your phone, you slip it in.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's when the gear costs money, then people don't want to, if I need to wear this huge goggle thing that's like $500, but even any technology, once it first comes out, it comes down in price eventually because it just becomes the norm, like a Tesla, people, or a phone. Like people are getting more in tune with or understanding what the benefits are, and then when it becomes cost affordable, then it kind of interacts with our lives on a much easier decision making. Like I can say, I want to do better for the planet, and I can actually afford this car now without being so scary, hopefully. But I mean, my other point though, for Walmart versus an aviation company, the difference is massive in what they're training, right? Like if you are using VR and AR or whatever for training a pilot, it's a full simulation of a very scary event. I think that's very necessary because, like you said, like I wouldn't want them to crash planes in testing. Yeah. We don't want to do that. For a manager office job, what is the... Yeah, it goes back to just what is the benefit? Is it just to move product faster or to really equip our employees with a stronger decision-making process?
It's probably both, and it's probably just
selling it all.
It's probably to optimize everything, right? It's probably a way to be able to take a lot of the maybe weakness that exists within the current workforce and be able to just strip it out and give that responsibility to maybe technology and allow employees to focus on what they're good at. I don't know, but I think that's a good way to kind of conclude today's episode. We'll bring you guys back because I feel like Seif has a lot that we can touch on when it comes to AI, but we'll bring you back in that.
And he can tell you what jobs are safe, maybe.
Oh, God.
That's what I want to know.
That's a good cliffhanger for the next time Seif's on. We'll do a Theory on AI episode, and then Nat will just bring you back because you always got something to say.
Thanks.
But that concludes today's episode of New Theory Radio. Nat, if people want to connect with you on social media, where should they hit you up?
At Nataleigh B on Twitter, but it's NATALEIGH.
Don't get it twisted. We'll have it in the body of the podcast version. And Seif, if people want to connect with you.
I'm on Instagram, seif.khemaissia.
Nice. Yeah. And I won't butcher your last name. And if you want to hit me up, it's at Nav Nanwa on Instagram, at NNanwa on Twitter, and at U3 Radio across all platforms. And you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
You're listening to News Talk Saga 960. Also streaming live on saga960am.ca.